Hello, my name is Julie and welcome to a cozy week-long reading vlog. I've had a pretty structured video schedule for the last several months. I've known what kind of reading vlogs I'm doing ahead of time, and I ran through my list and I don't have anything planned. So I asked you guys on Instagram what I should do, and this is what you guys came up with, which I'm relieved to be doing a video that doesn't involve that much planning. So I am just gonna take you with me this week and see how much I can read. So it is currently Labor Day, so I have the day off of work and I have nothing planned for today. It's pretty nice outside, so I might spend some time out this evening, but today is just relaxing and being comfy. So this week I'm going to be working, of course, and then this weekend I am going to be traveling to visit my boyfriend, and we are going to be going to my first football game. He's a band kid, so I'm going to be watching him play at their stadium for the first time, and then we are going to be going to a music festival, which I have never been to one before, so I'm excited. Let's talk about what I'm reading, because I don't have a very long TBR for this month. I usually pick like 8 or 10 books that I'm looking forward to, and because my favorite readathon, which is usually in September, isn't happening, I don't know if at all or just not this month, I don't have that much of a TBR. So everything that I do have is for a challenge or a club. So right now I am currently reading Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy, which is the first trilogy in the much longer Realm of the Elderlings. So this trilogy is about Fitz, who is the bastard of the crown prince. When everyone learns that he exists, his father abdicates the throne, goes off into the countryside, and he is brought to the castle, and the king brings him aside, is like, hey, you're gonna be my assassin. And in this one, we are getting a bit of like a Deathly Hallows Part 1 vibe, where he is off in the forest just trying to survive while he is also trying to hunt down a big bad evil. And I am 300 pages in to an over 800 page book. So I usually try to challenge myself to read one big chunky fantasy book a month, and this is my pick, especially because last month what I thought was a big chunky fantasy turned out to only be like 300 pages. So this is making up for it. I'm liking it. It's feeling like the other books. I think they really upped the stakes at the end of the last book, but I am getting through this super slowly. So I might actually end up like reading maybe like 50 pages of this and then 50 pages of something else like in one day. We'll see, because this is really slowing me down. Let's go through the rest of my TBR for the month. So for my book club, 3 of clubs, we are going to be reading Lore Olympus. Technically volume 1, but most people are probably going to read past that if they enjoy it. So this is a webcomic that was later published into physical graphic novels. There are 4 that are currently out, and I know people who have already started and finished the print version. And it's a couple days into the month. This is for our Greek myth theme that we're doing, and this is a retelling of Hades and Persephone, which I'm really interested in. I'm not a big graphic novel person, so we'll see how invested I get, because this is one of people's favorites and I love the art style. If you want to read with us, you can join us in the description. And our last hands, the last 3 months of 2023, we are going to be reading cozy fantasy books. So if that's your vibe, come join us. Then for my next monthly challenge, for my reading bingo that I do every month, we are doing a year-long rainbow. So this month we have to read a book that has a white cover, and for this I'm going to be reading We Spread. Ian Reid wrote one of my favorite books of all time, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and I've heard nothing but fantastic reviews about this one because of its subject matter about aging and how the body and mind sort of betray you as you get older. Our main character, Penny, is an older woman who is being taken into a care facility, and she can't tell if she is losing her grip on things or if the people around her are taking advantage of her. Then for another challenge that I do every month, the Buzzword Readathon prompt for this month is to read game words. So anything like play, game, first, last, win, lose, I was thinking like chess pieces, like queen and king, maybe castle. I decided to pick The Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second of the Year of Sanderson books. I didn't get mine until later. Like I got this one and then my book 3 like right next to each other, so that's why I'm behind. This is a non-Cosmere novel, which is about a person who does a vacation service where you essentially get sent to like an alternate dimension that people speak regular English, but it's medieval England. The main character actually bought like a really cheap package. In transit, there was like a giant fireball and everything that he brought with him got burned, including the handbook. So he doesn't know how he's going to survive. Hopefully this is a winner. And then for my 12 books from 12 friends in 12 months challenge, I am going to be reading Lexicon by Max Barry. So this is a literary, little bit of a thriller that has to do with language, as one could imagine from the title. I'm gonna read from the synopsis here. They are taught to persuade, to use language, to manipulate minds, to wield words as weapons. Very best graduate as poets and enter a nameless organization of unknown purpose. I love books that have to do with writing and language and words. This was chosen by my friend Anvita, who I absolutely love. I've been following her for forever, and this is one of her favorite books of all time. And then there is also a book of the month backlist readathon challenge going on, which I don't really have enough of a backlist. I have 5 books to really go all out for this challenge, but I decided that I need to read one of my ones that I've had on my shelf for the longest and never touched, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I got this kind of as a joke because it's Reylo fan fiction, and I wasn't really sure that this is the type of romance that I'm going to enjoy. I don't know if I'm genuinely going to enjoy it, if I'm going to ironically enjoy it, or if I'm going to hate reading it. I have absolutely no idea. But this is Reylo fan fiction. Our main character is a PhD student and he is a professor. She needs to prove to somebody that she has a boyfriend, does the whole fake dating, kisses the guy, and then they decide to have a fake relationship, but it turns out he's been in love with her the whole time. That whole shebang. So I have no idea which of these I'm going to read next. Lore Olympus I'm going to be getting from my library because I'd rather read it in print if I can. We've got a nice blue-yellow thing going on. If I'm reading this, I think I want to read something that is going to be much faster paced, and the print in this is very big and this is a rom-com. So I think I'm going to pick one of these two to read alongside this and bring you with me.
I began my life for the second time on a June night in the year I turned 15. My name was still Mia Jacob, and I was still made of blood and bones. But when I stepped into the road on that night, I walked into a different future. I left the way my mother had arrived, alone and in the dark. The moon was yellow, and the woods were pitch black. If you didn't know there were mountains and fields, and that this was western Massachusetts, you would think you had come to the end of the earth. In some ways that was true, at least for me. I could feel every breath that I took rattle inside my chest.
Hi, it's Wednesday night. You know what? It's hard to do a vlog when you have a full-time job. It's not like I can film at it. So when I get back home, it's 4:30, maybe 5, and also I'm going to take a nap because I'm exhausted. So I had my little girl dinner of just noodles. I have been working way too hard making fancy dinners like every night for myself, and I just treated myself to something really simple. I still have to pack for my drive tomorrow. I will be doing right after I get out of work. But reading wise, you heard me listen to a sample of an audiobook last night that I did end up getting from Book of the Month, and that is The Invisible Hours by Alice Hoffman. So I was familiar with her before. From the cover, this doesn't look like something that I'd be super interested in. It looks like a chick lit historical fiction, but this is about a girl who is in a cult where they have like banned reading, and she sneaks to read, finds solace in it, especially in the book The Scarlet Letter, and she eventually finds out that she has the ability to travel back in time to whatever she's reading, and she at some point will end up traveling to when Nathaniel Hawthorne is writing the book, which I think is super interesting. I like cults, I like historical fantasy, I love time travel, and I really like books about writing and reading. Physical book wise, I have read 50 more pages of Assassin's Quest since I last saw you, and I have read 150 pages of We Spread. So Assassin's Quest is going about the same. Literally this entire book is about Fitz bleeding out in the woods and then trying to go somewhere else, and then he gets attacked and he's bleeding out in the woods again, and it's a little stressful. I think he's finally like gotten to the next part. And for We Spread, so our main character is Penny, who is an older woman. Her partner passed away years ago and she has been living on her own, but she has a fall that is pretty serious, and her landlord essentially kicks her out and sends her to this place that he says that her and her husband had planned for her to go. But she's never heard of it. She doesn't remember making these plans. And it's a strange place. It's a home that only has 4 people in it. She's sleeping better than ever, but she's suddenly like losing track of time in a way that she hadn't before. So it is very much reminding me of Death in Her Hands. I did like that book, but I think that Ian Reid is better at giving an ending. So I am going to listen to a little bit more of The Invisible Hours as I pack tonight. Guys, I think my couch was just delivered. I just got the email that it was. So maybe I'll have some fucking furniture. Let's go. Guys, it's here, and 2 of me could fit in this box. How am I going to get it out? Let's see. Oh, just barely. Let's go. It turns out there are 2 more boxes. Oh, oh my goodness. Hi, it is Friday, so I am teleworking, but now I am teleworking from the mountains, as you can tell. So I did my 6-hour drive yesterday, which that is the longest drive I have ever done, I believe. Something about long day drives makes me fall asleep, but I got myself a cute little fall drink, the iced pumpkin chai latte at Starbucks. Pleasantly surprised. Second half of the drive, I listened to almost the entirety of The Invisible Hours. So I think I like this writing style. I love like the dedication to freedom and loving books, and how much language helps someone to be able to identify things about themselves and their life. I wanted a little bit more of the time travel aspect to be, let's say, a little bit more Back to the Future, of like, let's set the timeline where it's supposed to be. There's a little bit of that plot, which, to be honest, it's so far into the book, but it's in the synopsis. It's really weird that it's in the synopsis, but that doesn't happen until almost at the end of the book. It's just like, oh, she time travels and she meets him and they
are in love with each other immediately. Disney princess obsessed as soon as I meet you. I like the writing style, so this like gives me hope for this author's other books. I am liking learning more about Nathaniel Hawthorne though. So from like a historical fiction point of view, that part's cool, and I think it's interesting that we see historical characters have wanting more agency for women, and especially men in historical times wanting that. So I don't know how historically accurate that is to Nathaniel Hawthorne, but he did write, The Scarlet Letter, which is a fairly feminist text for the time. But I haven't touched Assassin's Quest, but I have read to page 200 of We Spread. Anne Reid is a low plot girly. I'm thinking of Ending Things. I was in love with it from the very first page. Foe, from the very first page, I kind of saw where we were going, and I was like, is he going to surprise me? And it didn't. So I think that this is right in the middle, because it's not like a really plot twisty book. It's a thought-provoking book about aging. Liking the vibes, and I think it's interesting how we see people's memory sort of being confused. All the 4 people who are staying here, days all blend together for them, and they're having a lot of time discerning what is real from what isn't. People are telling them things that they don't remember are true, and are denying things that they do remember. A lot of gaslighting. I'm curious to see where this goes, but I'm definitely expecting something more calm in terms of like twists than I'm thinking of anything. So I think I'm set up to enjoy this more than Foe. I'm going to get back to work for the afternoon. I still have to clock like 5 hours. So after that, I am going to relax, read some more, probably take a nap, and I am going out to eat with my boyfriend's friends while he is at a concert. It's nice that I can hang out with my boyfriend's friends as my own friends. So me and Pikachu finished We Spread earlier today before I took a nap, went out to dinner with people, and this is the most up to interpretation book that I have ever read. So obviously the book is very much about aging and that sort of horror. If there are other things going on other than just the slipping of memory, is entirely up to your own interpretation. And there's so many things that are vaguely left about the ending that people, I've looked on Reddit to see what people's theories were, and there were a lot of different things that people were thinking about that I hadn't even considered. There is like a conclusion, but how much of the horror is actually happening is still a question that you have. And I think that's something that people might want to know going in, because I definitely expected to have a little bit more of a resolution as far as that, considering Reid's other 2 books. I'm sitting at like a 3.5 or a 4. I liked it, and I think there were a lot of good things about it, but I still was like waiting for something, and I think that took away a little bit because of his plot twist in the past, even if one of them I guessed immediately. So I am going to read more of Assassin's Quest. I think I'm still around page 450, and wait for my boyfriend to get home. Football games tomorrow. He's going to be getting back at probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and then having to get up at like 6 or 7 to go get ready for the football game. So I am going to try to help him as much as I can while he is sleep deprived. So I have a couple hours before he gets back. So I might get through a little bit of this before I go to sleep.
Hello, it's Monday, and this weekend hasn't exactly gone to plan. This is Austin, my boyfriend. After you came back on Friday from the concert, everything has gone to shit since. Even though he came back at 5:30 in the morning, which sucked. You had to wake up at 6:30 and got not even an hour of sleep before you had to go to rehearsal.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was a noon game, and how did that go?
I mean, it was a good time. It started raining, and the game got delayed for 7 hours, and the band had to stay. So we sat in the indoor practice facility for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then they decided to play the game, and then we had to go play a whole game after that. So we got to rehearsal at 8, and we left the game at about 9 p.m.
Yeah, so that was super fun. We found out that it was actually the second wettest day in the entire history of the town. And there was so much rain that there are just so many videos online of people just swimming, essentially, in the driest place in the state. So yeah, so the game ended up taking up the entire day rather than us spending time together on Saturday. But then because there was so much rain, the concert got canceled both days, on Saturday and Sunday. So got my Foo Fighters shirt on for nothing. But we did get to do some Halloween shopping. I found a duck skeleton because he loves ducks, and this was, I think he looks stupid, but we got a little ghost guy
That actually shows up on camera.
Yeah, no, it's super cute. Because I've needed more iced coffee cups because I'm basic as hell, I found matching little skull mugs that are iridescent, which I feel like you can't super tell on camera that it's a skull. Oh yes, we also have the pillow with cute little guys.
This little guy.
There's a little guy.
Everything brought to you by Walmart and Kroger.
Yes, Kroger was actually a really surprising collection, and they were pretty cheap. We did get to go out to dinner yesterday, which was cute, and we played trivia with our friends, which he won, just barely. We had a one-on-one competition of trying to name 80s songs, and I think we were pretty close.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, I feel like you know more bands than I do when it comes to rock. So our weekend did not go as planned, but it was still fun. And we got to hang out with people. And the weather wasn't too bad here.
It's not 90 degrees anymore, so.
Yes, it's finally fall. Hence the Halloween shopping. But yes, thank you for being here. We are going to go to the bookstore later, so we'll see if I pick up anything. Bye. But I have read a little bit of Assassin's Quest. I think I've got to page 560. This thing is going super slowly. I'm still feeling the same about it, and I feel like we're just not getting a lot of plot development happening. For an 830-page book, there aren't that many different actual things happening, versus the second book, we have a lot of different political things going on. This is gonna take a long time, and because I am doing my 6-hour drive today, I definitely won't have time to read any more of this until I get back to my place. So I might be able to get to page 600, so I unfortunately won't be able to finish in this vlog, but I can't imagine my thoughts changing much on this. So I am going to pick up an audiobook for my drive back, and I think I'm going to pick thriller so I can fill out for my bingo board. I need to read a book, the genre of my favorite book from last month, and that was a thriller, horror, and a horror. So I have a bunch of selections from my library because they're just really good about stocking audiobooks for thrillers and mysteries, so I should be able to find something. Maybe I think I might be able to get one that might even be set where I live as well, which would be cool. So let's go find some books. I got back home safe, as you can tell by the fact that you're watching this video. So I came home with the new little flower that Austin gave me. Since we live so far apart and have for almost the entirety of our relationship, he gives me flowers whenever we spend time together, but so they don't die, and so I get to keep them as a reminder. He gets me these cute little fake flowers, which coincidentally are very good for Bookstagram pictures, and I have been decorating my bookshelf with them recently. So get you a man who decorates your bookshelf with you. I did have a coffee at like 6 p.m. so you know what that means. I am not going to be able to sleep, so I took a melatonin. Yes, I'm frogging the work that you saw earlier because I was too lazy to pin this in place. But on the way, I did listen to the entirety of a thriller, and that was The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda, who is a very popular mystery thriller author who I have never read. And you know what? That's the type of book that my library from home has just a ton of. So this takes place in North Carolina. Oh my God. Julie talking about how a book's set in North Carolina, shocker. It's set in the mountains, and there is a inn that our main character is working at, and there has been a string of disappearances that are tied to this town, the trail outside of the inn, and possibly even the inn itself. And our main character has been living in the town for 10 years, but is still considered an outsider because it's a very small town. People have lived here forever, and they kind of look out for their own. But basically, the most recent of the disappearances happened a couple months ago, and the brother of the missing person has come to the town and is staying at the inn, and our main character is finally looking into this mystery that the entire town has hid from her. So I feel like this is very classic mystery thriller, very classic small town where all of these people are just not giving an answer. I feel like we had a good amount of suspects and possibilities, but I don't think nothing truly shocked. I had the list of people in my mind of who the author was trying to point us towards as red herrings, and I was like, well, it can't be this person. And I picked up on little hints as to who things were going to be, and while I didn't necessarily specifically guess a big bad, they were like on my limited list of people left. It was well constructed in the way that like everything made sense and there wasn't anything that was a total shock, so that's good. But nothing really stood out to me as something that I will remember. I do think that, you know, I was just hanging out in the mountains. They did capture the feel of that area. So that is something good I will say about it. So I'm probably going to give this book in the realm of a 3, maybe up to a 4. It did nothing wrong. It definitely kept me awake and kept me theorizing, which is not something I necessarily do with mystery thrillers because sometimes I'm just along for the ride. But I had a good enough time with it. I'm just not sure how long it will actually stay with me. And yes, this is a very professional way in which to sew stuff. It is midnight and I have to get up at 6 a.m. for work, so I am just going to calm myself down after the caffeine and try to get myself to go to bed as soon as possible, including attaching this arm to this future Eeyore and probably reading a little bit of Assassin's Quest, because what puts someone to sleep more than a chunky, dense fantasy book with chapters that are way too long? I am sorry for myself and for you as the viewer that I did not finish this book in this video, but you know what? I just don't think it was in the cards. This thing is just too dense. Thank you to people on Instagram who requested this sort of content that is a little bit more casual. And if you'd like to vote or have some say on what kind of content I do make, you should follow me on Instagram. My link is in the description, where I ask for a lot of feedback because I love when people make menial decisions for me. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.